Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Mark Norman talked about cancel culture with AL.com and said, obviously, like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby and Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly and the list goes on, these are people that should have been taken down years ago, and these are criminals. He should be in jail, so I get all that. But some people, no one ever brings this up. Some people were using cancel culture to, like, get their way. It wasn't about justice or doing what was right. It was about, oh, I can use this and call this person a racist. Then they'll get fired and I can take their job or whatever. People started using it for their own benefit. And it wasn't about doing what was morally just. It was about, hey, let me spin this so I can get what I want. That's really when it got ugly. And I know a lot of examples of that. But to me, I think we're kind of past it. We're kind of over it. And you just ignore it. It tends to kind of be okay. But yeah, that was a dark time. I mean, then we did that weird thing. We were like, look at Shane Gillis. He got canceled. Now he's huge. I'm like, yeah, but he's also talented. Let's not act like him getting canceled was the best thing that ever happened to him. That's like saying, hey, your mom got stabbed, so now you're all over the news. So yeah, I don't worry about it. I think just as long as you tell jokes, you're fine. If you're going up there to saying the N-word, yeah, maybe that's a problem, but maybe you don't have an act. You're just trying to be edgy. Yeah, but I talk about everything. I have dicey topics and quote-unquote edgy stuff, you know. But it's all jokes and it's all in jest. Mark Norman's best to come back to a heckler. Mark said, one of my best counterpunches was a big fat lady who for some reason hated me, and she just yelled out boo, and I said, are you saying boo or moo? And the place went nuts, and she hated me more than she left, so that was a real win. Sheng Wang with Cleveland scene, they were curious about his hair. What made you grow out your hair? Sheng said, it wasn't really a choice. I canceled my haircut appointment on March 13th, 2020. It was the pandemic. At one point in my career, I tried to grow it out. When it was between short and long, I cut it and never gave it a chance. People started complimenting me on my hair. I thought it might not make sense to cut it now. It matches the vibe of the comedy and writing. For now, it really works. It's all an accident. Remember that? Did you cut your own hair during the pandemic? At one point, I had to take out I let the top grow out, but the sides my hair gets really wide. I had to take out the razor and just be like, all right, let's hope for the best here. It was okay. It was like pandemic okay. I wasn't leaving the house anyway. Shane jokes the best part of an office job is being able to print for free. Did he ever actually have an office job? Oh, yeah. I still have to have different jobs. I had some temp jobs and was always so blown away by how much printing and trash comes out. Going from printing at home to printing at an office, I remember the warmth of fresh printed paper that stuck with me. It's based on real-life office experience. As a comedian, you go into an office with fresh eyes and everything feels so alienating and interesting. Next, Av asked Brian Regan about performing clean. That seems to be like, if you ever meet Brian Regan, you have to be like, hello, you're Brian Regan. Yes, I am. You were clean. I mean, it's every interview, but okay, it's the weekend. Brian said, well, I was always mostly clean, even when I started, just because that's how my brain works, at least comedically. When I'm with my friends hanging out, I can be as filthy as anyone else. On stage, the kind of stuff I like to do is conceptual and doesn't normally go in that four-letter word direction, but it wasn't completely clean when I first started. Maybe about 5% was dirty. When I first went out on the road, I had a handful of jokes that were attention getters. When you're playing a rough room, like a bar that has a comedy and tequila night, I'd have jokes that would hopefully get their attention, and I'd try to slide to stuff that I like. But then I got to the point where it's more about being meticulous than wholesome, you know? People got the wrong idea of why I like to work clean. I like to work clean just because I like the idea of seeing if I could be 100% of something. I see it as a personal challenge. How well can I do? How hard can I get people laughing without hitting certain buzzwords or topics that can disproportionately work in front of audiences? I started going 100% clean just for the challenge of it. And along the way, I found there's a following for that. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it for my own reasons. IPM Newsroom asked Bob Odenkirk about the role of the Midwest in his comedy. Bob said, the Second City is the name for a theater, and it's a name that was borrowed from a name for Chicago. The Second City. It's like you're the underdog, and as a result, you have a suspicious chip on your shoulder towards all the whatever's happening, whatever's hype and happening. And that's good for comedy, because that's what comedy does. Comedy undermines. Growing up here lends itself to that perspective on the world that wants to poke at the world and doesn't take things seriously. As long as there are irritating things in the world, there's comedy. So please keep irritating us, you know? Nobody quits show business. Stavros Halkias spoke with GQ about his current views on wellness and said, early on in my career, it was like, oh, this is fun. Let me get as messed up as possible. Let me get good at something so I get attention from women, and let me get drunk and have sex with any girl that will let me, and eat like garbage to reward myself. Clean that up a little. There's also a little bit of nihilism, like living like nothing matters. You're on the path to a coward suicide, where it's like, I don't want to take care of myself. Who cares? I'm not going to be around forever. And then my life's gone pretty good. I got a nephew. My best friends have had kids. And I'm like, oh, I've gotten successful. There's people I care about. I guess I want to live. So I've been trying over these last 5 years to lose a little weight. I did really well during the pandemic. And then I started working, got fat as F again. I just do whatever it takes to stick around with the ultimate goal of being, I never want to get skinny, but I want to be strong. On the road, especially on tour, I just started walking. I like to call myself the 20,000-step bastard. Every day on the road, I'd walk like 8 miles. I'd walk until my feet hurt, and then over time, my feet stopped hurting. I could walk. The thing that's helped me is to be completely honest with yourself and slowly build from there. The theme of this interview is masculinity. I think this is an interesting answer. I definitely see myself in a lineage of those fat guys that I really looked to, even as a kid. We're talking Farley, John Candy, Jack Black. I don't think anybody would look at me and say, that guy's feminine. I don't think I'm getting that, but I guess I'm just trying to say for people who feel like they're not masculine, there's a version of them that is. You could be a mix of masculine and feminine. If you want to be masculine, you don't feel it, there's a path for you to project that. I think for me, it was when I unlocked, women don't actually care that much if they like you as a person, if you can show what's good about you. A lot of my body insecurity kind of stemmed from just general insecurity about relationships and getting attention from girls. But I think for me, it was when I unlocked, women actually don't care that much if they like you as a person, if you can show what's good about you. When I was confident in myself in all these other ways, when I felt like I'm doing what I need to do, I have a nice life plan, I feel confident in my abilities, that inner confidence sort of projected. I've been enjoying these. He's really in touch with himself. This is good stuff. What does he look for in a relationship? He said, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think it's cool to be a provider, whatever, but I'm also very attracted to ambition. I like somebody who's doing their own thing. I like talking to somebody about their long-term goals. I have to think strategically about my career. I like having those long discussions with somebody. As much as I love stand-up, essentially I'm running my own business. I've been overdoing it because once you get a shot in entertainment, you kind of have to take it. I remember thinking, I'm so tired. It'd be cool if I got home and the place was clean and maybe there was food. I don't want to order food. I was like, what if I was dating somebody who'd just be here? It'd be cool if she lived here and then took care of stuff. I'm doing so well, she wouldn't even need a job. I backwards invented the concept of a traditional housewife. A little more from that Gutfeld thing I told you about yesterday. He talked about the whole king of late night thing and explained, I think I'm trying to think where the king came from. I think I have to credit Dave Rubin. I think Rubin was on during the first week of the show and said something like, you're going to be the king of late night. You're going to be number one. I don't like saying stuff like that because then it'll just be thrown back in your face. But he was right. Then, of course, I had to put it on my book cover. I don't even know how that happened, but putting it on the cover of my book was like this audacious and ridiculous thing. He was asked what late night even means anymore. Like, whatever you watch, you're choosing a side. Greg Gutfeld said, it kind of became defined as maybe a person who wanted to go to bed angry with somebody who wanted to go to bed happy. One thing I always want to do is not send people to bed enraged. Sure, maybe you're sad that Biden lost, but we're going to have so much fun. This is going to be great. And then Trump wins. This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be great. So we're going to have fun, and things are going to be great no matter who wins or loses. I'm not going to let that impact the time that we have. I think doing a late night show that makes everyone feel bad is a disservice. I don't understand that. That's when you have people switching the channel to come to us. They didn't even know we existed until then. Again, we're comparing red apples and yellow apples. Gutfeld is on at 10 Eastern, but he's on at 7 Pacific and 11:35 p.m. Pacific, are not at all the same thing. Greg said there was literally free money on the table, and so I took it and I showed mainstream media that they don't own the culture. I think it's not just about late night, it's about all of culture. It's about the ability to tell people you aren't the cool kids at the table anymore. You took people for granted, you insulted everybody else, and we're the ones now who are having fun. Veered Oz told Variety, I don't think comedians speak truth to power, I think journalists speak to power ideally, but I think comedians speak to a tiny voice in the back of your head, and perhaps over time, we've forgotten how powerful that voice is. I also don't think you can predict whatever's going to get you into trouble. It's the thing you really thought of, this thing you never imagined, that it's going to be the complaint that gets filed, and it's a thing you thought that, this is going to hurt people. It never hurts people at all, so your best bet is just to say it and deal with it when the time comes. And that is your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow.